The golf season has officially kicked off and I am back to making videos again. Today we're going to get a practice session in at Happy Gilmore's first ever driving range and then head over to play a 15-hole course just outside of Vancouver here in Canada. But first, it was finally time to unleash my brand new golf cart onto the world. With all the activities I do, carrying my clubs around 18 holes of golf was starting to become quite the energy drainer. So I popped onto Amazon and picked up this Caddy Tech pushcart for about $225 Canadian at the time. So far, it's been the dream. Easy to fold up, my carry bag slots in perfectly fine and has helped me to put more energy into actually playing the game. The Riverway Golf Course is famous for being a filming location for the Happy Gilmore movie. The location of where he completed his first tournament and found out that Will Zalatoris was actually his caddy. But unfortunately there were some setbacks with being allowed to film here, so before finding somewhere else to play, I headed to the driving range to get back into the swing of things. It had been 3 weeks since I'd completed quarantine from coming back to Canada from the UK, and just over 2 months since I last played a round. I had managed to sneak in a couple of rounds just before filming this, but I felt like I was starting from scratch all over again. My swing felt rusty and I developed some bad habits already. But all that aside, this was a very special driving range.
This is where Chubbs met Happy Gilmore.
Oh my God.
I mean, I might be in the bay where it happened.
Needless to say, it would have been rude not to try and hit a Happy Gilmore shot. But what had I been working on? Well, first of all, I was trying to get the club face square at setup, something that my coach had cited would be the likely reason for some lost distance on my irons. But there were other things going on as well, namely that I was taking it back far too inside of my swing plane. This was filmed a couple of months ago now, and a lot has changed. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel to catch my future uploads to see just how much better my game has been getting, as I try to get back to a 9 handicap. After shaking out some cobwebs, I was dying to get out for a game, but that would prove to be easier said than done. Golf is so popular now that you have to wake up at 5 AM or some crazy hour to book somewhere a week in advance. So with my Riverway plan out of the window, we had to find a different solution, and I knew just the place.
We got a game, Joel. We're gonna go to Savage Creek, which is a 15-holer. They're really nice and welcoming over there, and they just let me crack on with filming.
After a bit of putting practice on the Riverway practice greens, we headed over to Savage Creek. With a 15-hole golf course, Savage Creek is quite an interesting offering. Not only are there less holes, but most of these holes are short par 4s, and I'm a huge fan. I've been here with my golf buddies and newcomers to the game and always had a great time. They've got a 2-level driving range and a putting course, all on one property. So after a quick bit of practice on these putting greens, I headed out onto my round, which cost less than $30 as I was playing in the afternoon. A bargain. The first hole was about 260 yards to the green, and totally drivable. The wind was behind me on this day, and despite hitting one straight out of the toe, I ended up on the dance floor. And this is why I enjoy this course so much. For shorter hitters and beginners, the par 4s are far more manageable. And for a longer hitter, every hole is about trying to get it on the green in one. And that's what I had done. Coming very close to holing out for an eagle, I unfortunately missed the putt back for birdie. I will say that these greens are a little bit slower than what I would expect, but it was also February. On the second hole, I hit a tiny drive just to the left of the fairway and followed it up with a solid pitch onto the green. Putting is again pretty weak and I miss a birdie putt. I tackled the par 3 third hole with a gap wedge and hit the middle-ish part of the green and enjoyed the walk over this delightful bridge to get there. Overcompensating for the slower greens, I send it miles past and have another 3 putt on my scorecard. The fourth hole has iconic maple leaf and heart-shaped bunkers, which sit either side of a 3-level heart-shaped green. It's a lot of fun to look at, but my tee shot goes way too far to the left, nowhere near the green. I get far too underneath my approach shot and end up in the sand trap. Getting out okay, I would then 2-putt for an awful double bogey. You'll notice that the first handful of holes are a bunch of par 3s, and it really gets you warmed up. The 5th is pretty short and I toss a lob wedge up there just short of the green as the wind was confusing me. I'm trying to chip more with my 9-iron, but I get this bump and run wrong and end up with another bogey. Not hitting the green again on the 6th hole because of the wind, another chip on and another 2-putt puts me in for bogey. Some short game weaknesses are definitely being exposed here. From 160 yards, I take a 7-iron and send it way over the back of the green, just short of the hazard, and I once again can't get up and down. But we're back on the par 4s and I get to use the big stick again on the next hole. With the flag just at the bottom of this slope, the pitch on was pretty simple. And I marginally miss another putt for birdie. And this would start to become a reoccurring theme of this round. Things go wrong on the 9th as I leak it miles to the right and end up in a water hazard, having to drop out. After pitching on, another agonizing putt slips by and I have another bogey on the card. Now the 10th is where things get interesting because it's an incredibly short par 5 at just over 350 yards. But for a shorter hitter, a par 5 actually makes sense because if your drive is about 200 yards or so, it would be tough to hit a blind shot over out of bounds on the right and over a water hazard to make it onto the green. But as I'm a few yards on from that, it leaves me with just a pitching wedge to get onto the green. After just missing the green, I hit the best putt of the day and tap it in for a birdie. But really, I should probably look at this as a par.
On the card it's a birdie, but I don't, for me, like, if I took that as a par 5, that wouldn't be good for a golfer like me. I've got to make this game as hard as I can be because golf isn't hard enough already. The trick is, for me, that I'm going to try and do, is go right over those trees on the right. If I can do that, then I'm on the green. I have not done it on my other efforts.
And do that I would, because I hit the drive of dreams right on line with the hole. It's an exciting walk up to the green to see if my calculations have worked out, and when I see my ball, I couldn't have been happier. The chip for eagle could have been a bit better for sure, but I finally knock one in for a birdie. The 12th is an incredibly tough par 3, with a green that has so much slope you wouldn't believe, and anything off said green leaves you with a tough chip towards the hole. I left myself a chip of doom, but it doesn't go badly. And I actually get up and down. The 13th was straight into the wind, and I decided to not try and drive this one as it's well protected by water. But I lose concentration with my 3-wood and hook it left. I hit my approach onto the green, but end up with a dreaded 3-putt for a bogey. But now we are playing with the wind behind us, the 14th becomes a fun hole again, and I cannot help but get that driver out. My tee shot looked good from the get-go, and I was really happy with it. Hey! Calling forward just in case someone was stood on the second tee box.
I've actually caught it.
Savage Creek doesn't have a stroke index on their scorecard, but I'd say this is probably the hardest hole. We get up there and I'm pin high, but with a tricky lob shot to get towards the hole.
Nice, look at that. Oh!
It lips out for eagle, but once again I narrowly miss a birdie putt. If even half of these putts had actually dropped, I might have been level par at this point. Coming down the final stretch, I didn't want this round to end. The short par 4s are so much fun, and it's a great way of practicing that short game under a little bit of scorecard pressure. I get out my 3-wood of dreams as at 241 yards and slightly downhill, it's the perfect club for me. Turns out I've also hit a perfect shot and I'm on the fringe and finished the day with a really long 2-putt and a birdie. After tallying up my score, I'm 5 over par and very satisfied. I was really excited to play Savage Creek over the winter, and I've been down a bunch of times. The practice facilities are awesome, and I'm sure in the summer months the conditions of the greens are going to be a lot better. but for the shorter winter days, 15 holes is the perfect number. But what do you think? Let me know by leaving a comment below. If you enjoyed this round, then hit the like button to let me know that you did, and be sure to subscribe to the channel as I continue my journey back to a single figure handicap. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you out there on the course.